What's up, you guys? Today we're going to be talking about whether you should drop the coin on going to a trade school, kind of like UTI, getting your certifications under your belt before you start your mechanic career. Or should you just hit the ground running, try to find a shop that'll take you in and learn as you go? I'm going to be honest, they're both going to be a struggle, but let's get into the pros and cons of each right now. So really quick, let me introduce myself. My name is Raymond. I'm a heavy diesel mechanic, but I also make magnets and stickers for toolboxes on the side. It's pretty fun, something I do. Those are just some of the designs. I know you can't really see them, but if that interests you, I'll have a link to that Etsy store down below, and that's how you can support the channel, along with a like or a subscribe. So my perspective is going to come from not going to a traditional school. I have taken classes in the past, but I didn't go through the entire program. I took some classes over at the local community college to become a mechanic, but I got my opportunity before I could finish all 3 courses. Granted, there's so much more than 3 courses, but there's a little bit of stigma to getting your certifications. You really want it because it looks great on your resume, but is it going to help you flourish as a mechanic? Well, yes and no. And as a side note, I'm not talking about the ASCs when I talk about certifications. Both becoming a mechanic straight away, or at least attempting to, and going through trade school are going to lead you to the route of ASCs regardless. I guess the reason I don't really put them up there with trade school is because whether you're in trade school or whether you're a mechanic, you need to work your way up to master technician anyway. So you either have the know-how and you understand the concepts, or you don't. Both trade school and being a mechanic out on the floor cannot help you get there unless you study. So yeah, ASCs, while they're not vital for every shop, they will pretty much be a nice buffer on your resume, and it will open certain doors for certain shops. The biggest thing, in my opinion, that you should consider when you're debating starting a career as a mechanic without certifications is to really look at yourself. Are you the type of person that needs someone else to teach you, or are you self-driven? If you need someone to teach you, highly suggest going to school, ask your questions, and getting certified that way. But if you're self-driven and you feel like taking a chance on yourself, there's no issue with you trying to just get your foot in the door as maybe a lube tech or just a general hand around the shop, maybe a porter at a dealership, and seeing what opportunities arise for you. So if I'm using myself as an example, I started off at a company. I was just checking oils, very simple things that wasn't mechanic related, but it did have me work around an engine. I at least got to do the bare minimum, whether it be fueling, whether it be, like I said, just checking for fluid leaks, things of that nature. I was at least around it, which gave me more opportunity than someone that was just sitting in a classroom only for about an hour to 3 hours a day. I was literally by that engine 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So for whatever reason, I believe that some people have an internal blockage that keeps them from actually starting. They have to get this certification, and then they fail some tests, and then at the end of the day, they spend all this money at this trade school and didn't even complete it. There's plenty of stories like that to go around, and you guys might know some people like that. And it sucks because you shouldn't have to spend so much money just to learn that you don't need those credentials. Maybe you're not book smart in the beginning, and as you develop, then you start really understanding what it is that they're talking about in these classes. Again, you're always going to have to learn Ohm's law. You're going to have to learn about voltage drop. You're going to have to learn about your basic diag work, along with the meat and potatoes of changing parts. There's all that encompasses being a mechanic. But sometimes people get into the whole trade school program. They read all the book stuff, but they have no hands-on, and if they do, it's very limited, and they fail one or the other, and they're just spending a bunch of money, making these trade schools a lot more money. So I don't want that to happen to anyone that's viewing this, that's on the fence. I'm not saying that, again, that school is bad. I'm just saying, look inside, what kind of person are you? And I guarantee you, depending on your strategy, you're going to be successful either way, so long as you bet on yourself and you put in the effort. Because if you think about it, if you have 2 people and one is only focusing on the mechanic field when they're in class for, let's say, 5 hours a day, if they're really putting in the hours, right? Maybe 8. It's all theory, but some people need to be more hands-on to really put it all into fruition and understand the entire picture in their head. And if you are that type of person, well, maybe it would be more beneficial to just be a lube tech or an entry-level position, being around the motor, seeing what mechanics are doing, because hey, whenever someone figures something out in the shop, they're always willing to share those stories. Oh, look, I couldn't figure this out and I figured it out. There's something about that shop talk that really makes the job worthwhile, really makes you feel a sense of pride when you actually accomplish something that maybe someone can't. And when they do accomplish something that most people can't, write it down. See what that big issue was. So then if you ever come by it, well, you can do it, or at least relay some of that information to recreate what that other tech did. And that's one of the benefits of being in the field, being around the mechanics, being around just overall the terminology, the shop life, seeing what goes bad, seeing what goes good, understanding the day-to-day compared to someone that's just going to be doing schoolwork, but it's kind of intimidating stepping into that garage. So if you just kind of cannonball into the field, you're going to have a bit of an advantage when it comes to just settling in compared to someone that, well, they've never been in a garage. They've been in school the whole time. So now I want to talk about the pros of actually going to a trade school. What benefits do you have if you go to a place like UTI or just your local community college, get some kind of certification compared to someone that has no training at all? The pros to actually going to school is that you're going to get used to the idea of learning these systems and really the ins and outs, not just changing parts, but also, again, like I said earlier, learning about Ohm's law, learning about all the type of air brake systems or hydraulic systems. You're going to know all the different types and at least be introduced to the idea compared to someone that can't visualize it because they're just being introduced to it. So you will have the leg up in theory. So the beauty of getting your certifications before you start working is that you're used to learning the theory. Ideally, you should be already knowing what Ohm's law is and how to put it into practice. You should know how to do your voltage tests. Yeah, granted, you need to do your practical and actually start looking at these circuits that you want to test, but you'll at least have the theory. And with those little nuggets of information, you're going to be leaps and bounds down the road if you keep expanding on that knowledge, because now you're going to have your practical, but your theory. A lot of guys start, they become a mechanic, but then they stay stagnant because they don't want to learn anymore. They figure, I'm a mechanic, I've been doing this for 5, 10, 15 years. I don't need to know that stuff. I've been doing the job. But that's not the way it works. Sometimes you do need to know the theory. Sometimes you do need to be the diag guy that actually tells everybody, hey, I figured out the problem. It's easy to take on tasks that have been done time and time again. It's easy when common defects occur and you fix them because you've seen them all the time. It's another when everybody's stumped and you're the guy that knows all the theory to be able to test these circuits or test this engine to make sure the compression's just right. It's great when you know that theory because some guys will not know it and you'll be leaps and bounds. So that should equate to you getting paid actually way more than them down the road. But now that I talked about the pros of going to school and the pros of actually just starting your career, I want to mesh them together and give you the overall take of this video and what I really want you to take from it. So hopefully my message was clear that I'm not advocating not to go to school and I'm not advocating necessarily to just start working, but I am hoping that whoever sees this video that really needs it, for you guys to know that regardless whether you go left or right, you're always going to end up in the middle, which is just you. And so long as you're improving yourself just like a video game character, you're going to be just fine. Constantly take in that knowledge, take the stuff home. For example, if you suck at electronics, hey, go ahead and set up a little electronic board in your room. I mean, make sure it's safe, but see how circuits react to more resistance. See how they react to when you start splicing a wire or shorting it to another ground. Just explore, but be safe about it. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, don't really mess with electrical unless you know what you're doing, because last thing I want is for you guys to arc something and then, blame it on some YouTube channel, which I didn't tell you to do that. That was you. I just said improve yourself, which then again, improving yourself sometimes means screwing up a little bit. So take with it what you will, but don't blame me if you do something. So you guys let me know in the comments. Are you going to go to school? Do you think it's more beneficial than just starting? Did you start? How did your career end up for you? Are you still learning? What are you having trouble with? What are you doing well with? Go ahead and comment down below. I'd love to see some of your guys' stories on how you ended up joining the career of automotive. It's such a big world and there's so much to learn. So I like the unity in the community, even though sometimes it's a little rough. hey, we're all here for each other and we keep things moving. So let's keep it that way. If you found some value from this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. And again, if you want to bling out your toolbox a little bit with some magnets or stickers, I do have that Etsy link down below to my shop. Again, appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.